If you are eager to utilize your child's early brain potential towards memorizing the Quran and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead of just learning the nursery rhymes, then you have clicked on the right video. Because in this video, I'll be sharing with you how you can get your child started on their Hifdh journey right from the early years, bi'idhnillah, without force or fear, rather through a connection based approach. Bismillah, let's get started.
Let's start. So today we'll be covering these 4 topics. So like to do anything that we want to do, we need to know why we want to do it. So I always start with the why power. So it will just serve as a reminder for all of us that why we need to learn and teach the Quran to our children and why we need to do it early. So we'll be discussing that. And then the role of the mother in this. This is especially important because most of us, including myself, we come from a household, I believe, where Quran was something that was taught by a Quran teacher. Some teacher would come home and teach us. So that was how it was. It's not wrong. It's very good. I'm not against it. But what we are going to discuss here is what is the role of the mother in this, how the mother can support the child in the Quran journey. Because just because your children go to school, that doesn't mean you're not the primary educator for your child. Just because your children have a nanny doesn't mean your role as a parent ends. Just because your child has a Quran teacher doesn't mean your role as the one teaching him the Quran ends. So everywhere we have a role to play. So that's what we are going to be discussing. And then Quran in the early years, what it looks like, when to start, what to expect from our children, and how to keep them going and really nurture the love for Quran in their hearts. And then finally, we'll be discussing how to nurture Iman before the Quran in their hearts. This is especially important. So we'll be discussing that bit in the end. So welcome to all of you. I'm Sana Zakir Hussain, a mom of 2 toddlers and an early childhood consultant. I'm a trained Montessori teacher, certified in ADHD management, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in child psychology. I work with mothers to help them navigate through their early years through one-on-one consultations or workshops and webinars like this. So Bismillah, let's start. So first of all, like I said, we'll be focusing on our why power. Why learn the Quran? Why teach it to our children? So as we all know, Quran is the means through which Allah speaks to us. So I think most of you would relate with me on this, that personally, whenever I feel worried or upset or disturbed, I pick up the Quran and start reading, and miraculously the verses are an answer to my worry. They are an answer, they are a source of soothing to my heart for whatever concerns I might have. So that is how Allah speaks to us. When we need help, that is how Allah helps us. So we want our children to know where to run to when they need help. So that is very important that we show them what is their guidance, what is their source of help in this world. So that is our number one motivation to learn Quran ourselves and to teach it to our children, because that is where they need to run to when they need help. They are going to fail in their lives. They are going to fall in their lives. They need to know what is going to pick them up, what is going to be their source of peace, and what is going to soothe their hearts. So that is why it's important that we really show them and build this strong bond with the Quran in their hearts right from the beginning. And secondly, the virtues of reading the Quran, the virtues of learning the Quran. We often hear this phrase, read and rise. It actually basically comes from this hadith, wherein the one who is devoted to the Quran will be told on the day of resurrection that recite and ascend in ranks. as you used to recite when you were in the world. Subhanallah. So the more we read, the higher the higher levels of Jannah we get, inshallah. So that is such a good motivation for our children and for ourselves, that the more we learn, the more we read, we are going to have a higher level in Jannah, inshallah. So this is something that is very fascinating for children as well. So we need to communicate it to our children. We need to keep renewing our intentions, that why we are teaching this to them, why our children need to learn the Quran, inshallah. Quran is a source of barakah in the house. It's a source of protection in the household. So we really need to build and nurture this Quran culture within the household, inshallah. So that is a bit of a reminder for all of us. And then, why teach early? So we'll be looking at this with a scientific perspective. So scientifically, our child's brain is most receptive to visual and auditory input during the first 3 years of their life. So what does this mean? We have 4 senses: the visual sense, the auditory sense, and the other senses, like the sense of taste. And like when we talk about sensory experiences for our children, the sense of touch, or I think someone, if maybe you can mute it. Yeah, thank you. So okay, so the sense of hearing, and the sense of seeing, and all these are the senses, the smell. But the 2 senses that are most active during the early years of a child are the visual and the auditory sense. An example of this: think about a 1-year-old, a 15-month-old. You look at the child and maybe do some reaction like baba, and the next second the child is going to reflect it back to you and just say what you said, like baba. He or she will just reflect it back to you. That's how quickly they pick up the visual and auditory input. That input is so strong during these early years. They are just going to reflect back whatever you are going to give them, the inputs. So we need to utilize this superpower that our children have during these early years. Especially the auditory input, the auditory sense, it's super strong during these early years, and we are going to rely solely on this auditory input to help our children learn the Quran during these early years, solely on this auditory input. Our children don't need to know how to read the Quran. They don't need to know all of these to learn the Quran, to memorize the Quran. So this is what we are going to utilize this superpower, this auditory power that the children have. They can really pick up the sounds, retain it in their memory, and inshallah, with time, after the age of 2, when they start speaking, you will see the output in your child, inshallah. So this is why we are going to introduce Quran to our children from the beginning. That is why we are going to teach it early in their childhood. And then, like I said, the role of the mother. So during the 4 years, so Imam Bukhari is the one who wrote Sahih al-Bukhari that we all refer to, the book of Hadith. So he was blinded from at the age of 12, and then his mother made lots and lots of du'as, and he regained his sight at the age of 16. So for 4 years, from age 12 to 16, he was blind. But during those 4 years, he memorized 500,000 hadiths solely from his mother reading it to him. So that is the role a mother in Islam has played, and a single mother that too. She lost her husband. So a single mother, that is the role she had played in her child's life. 500,000 hadith in a span of 4 years, a child had memorized solely from hearing it from his mother. So there's an Egyptian poem which says, the translation is that the mother is the school. You educate her and you empower a great nation. So we have a very important role to play in the lives of our children. Our children are going to be a reflection of us. They are going to pick up on our habits, our behaviors, our priorities, our desires. All these are going to get reflected in our children. So if we want our children to learn the Quran, to devote themselves to the Quran, to memorize the Quran, we need to do all of these first. If we want our child to memorize the Quran, we need to start memorizing with them. We need to have this habit of reading Quran daily, and then only then we can ask our children to read Quran daily. So they pick it up from us. We do it and they just copy us. They just reflect what we are. So that is the role a mother plays. She is responsible. There's also a hadith where I think if you can just mute. Yeah. So yeah, okay. Okay, so that is the role a mother plays. Then Quran in the early years. So how when does it start? Quran in the early years starts before the birth of the child. Right from the time the child is in the womb, that's when the journey with Quran starts, through two things, through the recitations and through dua. Dua is the strongest weapon we mothers have. We constantly make duas for our children to be righteous, to stay firm on the right path. That never ends. And also recitations begin right from before the child is born. Like when your child is in the womb, at around 4 months, the baby in the womb develops hearing. So he or she is basically able to hear our sounds. So that you recite the Quran from then. It starts there. The more you recite this has actually been a research done, and it has been proven that the mothers who used to read Quran more regularly when they were pregnant, their children tend to learn Quran more easily when like after birth, and when they were trying to memorize the Quran, those children tend to learn the Quran more easily. So this starts not after our child is 2 or 3. Our preparation starts before the birth of the child, through recitations and through lots and lots of duas. So that's how it starts. And it starts with us, with our routines and habits. Children thrive on routines. We need to set aside a time every day, maybe just 5-10 minutes. The acts that are most pleased to Allah are those which are very small but consistent. So we need to have this consistent routine. For us in my house, particularly, I just do it for 10 minutes every day. 10 minutes, I pick up the Quran every day. I read it in front of my children. After Asr prayer, I sit and read, and they join me. It is something that has become a routine. It's a habit. It's just very small. 10 minutes is not a big deal during your daily routine, but it's precious. Those 10 minutes are precious. Your child is joining you. He is watching you do this every single day without a fail. Be it a holiday, be it a whatever it is, whether you're happy or sad, you're doing this every single day, right from the time he or she is born. He's seeing you do this every day, and this becomes a part of their routine too. Maybe we say about all these read alouds. Do Quran read alouds in your house. Like maybe they are playing or doing something, but you sit and read the Quran loudly, and they hear, and these things are getting registered in their memory and their brain. So even by hearing, we gain reward. Yeah. So, and then we need to show our priorities to our children. Like, what are our priorities? Our desire to please the Rabb. Why are we doing this? That we want to make Allah happy. So that's why we are doing this. So we need to communicate this to our children, even during the early years, even when they are very young. For example, like after Asr prayer, we just read Quran for 10 minutes and then we go out to play. So many a times my toddler would tell me that we'll go play and then come back and read the Quran, because he's in a hurry to go out and play. But that's how he thinks as a child. It's our responsibility to show them what's the priority. So I tell him, no, we want to make Allah happy first. That's what we want to do first. We want to make Allah happy, and then we'll go out and play. So these are the small moments where we need to communicate our priorities to our children, inshallah. So our children have to see this from us, our desire to please the Rabb, inshallah. So yeah. And then what Hifdh looks like during the early years. So yeah, so what Hifdh looks like during the early years. So first of all, during the early years, how does it start? Now, Hifdh of the Quran, this webinar was not meant to be like a source of like, getting you started on the Hifdh journey. Why? Because Hifdh is natural to children, even to us. Why? How am I saying this? Because Allah says this. In the Quran, Allah says, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ, which means we have indeed, no doubt, made the Quran easy for remembrance. Quran is easy to remember. So whether we want it or not, when we do this regularly, our children will automatically get on the Hifdh journey. They will automatically start memorizing the Quran. This has happened with me, so I'll be relating this discussion with my own personal journey. So with my eldest, I didn't even know that he was already memorizing the Quran. So that is how it is, because Hifdh is natural. You don't have to sit and start like, as a planned thing. It is natural. Quran is easy to remember. It is easy to memorize for the children. So how does it start? Like I said, it starts before birth, but after birth, what do we do? Like from the first day, from day one, I had this simple habit of like reciting a few surahs before I put my kids to bed. So no special no recording from a qari or anything. I would just recite those surahs myself, like the three quls, the Surah Fatiha, Ayatul Kursi, and the last ayah of Surah Baqarah. So this is something I have been doing like from the past 3 years. It's very simple. I think most of us do this. So this was all that I was doing right from day one. Okay. So what happens is, for the first 2 years, you just give this input every single day, every single night. Your child is just getting the input. There is zero output. So that was what was happening with us as well. No output. Now, when my child was around 2, like when he was playing, I would hear a word like nas from his mouth. So that just made me realize that this vocabulary he has captured this vocabulary, this word he has captured. So that's how I just checked whether he can be like starting to memorize the Quran. So what did I do? So how do you start first? Maybe your child is 2, but he or she, just from hearing to you, he or she might have memorized a few parts of the Quran or surahs. So how do you start with them? So just when he is playing, I would start like Qul a'udhu bi rabbin and just stop for the last word, Nas. It's a simple word. I started with Surah Nas because it's just repetition. Like the last word is just repetition. It's very easy for children. And even in Montessori, when we give a child an activity, we tend to give them something that is achievable to encourage them to do more. So when you're giving them something simple and achievable, they get motivated, and this sense of accomplishment makes them like, do more of it. So that's how even I started, wherein like, I would just say Qul a'udhu bi rabbin, and he would complete that ayah for me, Nas. That's all he would say. because he was just 2, he had just turned 2, he's just beginning to like develop a bit of speech. Then I would say the next sentence, Malikin, and just stop. And he would say again, Nas. So he, in the beginning, at an age like 2, that's all you can expect. Just, just completing that ayah, that last word. And then the next stage, this was stage 1. You just say this ayah and then stop at the last verse, let them complete. This gives them a sense of like, accomplishment, as if they have completed the ayah. So you do this for the whole surah. Okay, that was stage 1. And then the stage 2 is Ulaudhubi, and then you stop. So they complete 2 words, Rabbin Nas. So that's how they are completing the ayah now. They are able to complete with last 2 words. Now, when you're doing this, once you have decided you want to start them officially on the Hifdh journey, you, for example, you want to do a surah Nas. So every day while he is playing, I would just switch on the recording, any YouTube recording for surah Nas on a speaker. Don't put up a, like, I'm like not too much in favor of screen time. So what I do is I get a, like, Bluetooth speaker and just put on that surah in the background when they're playing. So for a week, for 1 week or 2, he's just listening to that surah on repeat while he's playing. Maybe just 10-15 minutes a day, but he is constantly listening to that same surah every day for a week. And then I started with him. How do I start? Like I said, stage 1, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin, stop, let them complete the ayah. Number 2, now stage 2 will be Qul a'udhu bi, and then let them complete with 2 words. So doing this during this time, that surah is always being played every day when they are playing or doing something on their own, they're just listening to it. So we are basically solely relying on auditory input at this point. So that is there. Then next stage 3 is like, you say one ayah, your child will say the next ayah, then you alternate. So Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, stop, then let them come do the next ayah, Malikin nas. So that's how it will go. And then you say the third ayah. So that is stage 3. And then when you have been doing this for a few days, then you go to stage 4, wherein you just say Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, and they do the whole surah for you, inshallah. So, and then maybe with as now, one thing to realize is that children are at this stage, they are very young, they don't have the complete vocabulary. So most of the times what they are going to do is, some ayah, they know it, but they are not able to recite it due to their language limitations. So they are just going to, like, say something or some, just babble that sentence out, because they don't know how to speak it, recite it. So at that point, you say just we don't have to like point out the mistake, but just recite the correct sentence. Just recite the correct sentence, it is a very gentle means of correcting. But with time, with as their language develops, they inshallah tend to recite the whole surah without babbling in between, or just skipping a few sentences in between. They just do it because they don't have the language, but it is in their registered in their main brain. So they know it. Yeah, so that will be how you progress. And then when you're doing all of this, it is important that we also tell our children what they are learning during this, what Allah is speaking to them. So they need to know that Allah is the one who is speaking to them through these verses, through these surahs. So what is Allah? They don't need to know each and every word, but the gist of that surah, like maybe 2.5 years, 3 years, children are able to understand. So just communicate what Allah is speaking to them through these surahs. So that is something we can do, like just a gist. And one way I do this is, like, I have those words, 80% that comprise 80% of the Quran, the high frequency words that occur in the Quran, words like insan, ard, sama, these words are like high frequency, they occur too many times. So I just if you can go to my Etsy store, I have these flashcards as well for the Arabic alphabets, wherein for each letter of the alphabet I have a corresponding word, like for example, alif is for Allah. So those words are all high frequency words from the Quran. So this something I used to do him with from the age 2. So just like that, while he is learning the Arabic alphabets, he also learned 28 high frequency words from the Quran. So what does that do? When he is reciting the Quran, he knows a few words here and there. He doesn't know Arabic yet, he doesn't know how to read yet, but he is kind of understanding a few words here and there. So that is a good way if you can teach your child a few high frequency words from the Quran and tell them what they mean. So like I said, everything is based on consistency, doing it regularly. Children are too genius than what we assume them to be. They are like, they have this high potential during these early years, especially the first 3 years. So we need to just utilize it and channel it in the right direction. So after that also, like even after the age of 3, they or 6, like even after the early years, obviously there are many children memorizing, but it requires a lot more effort and time from their end, from our end. But before this, during these early years, they are naturally inclined towards this great capacity, and they have this more of a potential that we need to channel in the right direction, inshallah. So yeah, so that's a gist of how Hifdh would look like during the early years. And also like communicating the meaning and the what Allah is telling us through these verses is also important. And then we'll be creating this Quran culture in the household. So first of all, how do we do this? Like we do it as a family. It's very important that you do it as a family. uh, Most of the times when we talk about Tarbiyah and our children, especially after we become mothers, we focus only on our children. We don't focus so much on the Deen of our husband. It is important. Why? Because as much as we are wives, we are also as much as we are mothers, we are also wives, and a wife completes half of the Deen of her husband. So it is important that as spouses, we keep motivating each other in this journey, in our own Islamic journeys, like keep pushing each other. One way is like with respect to Quran, is doing like something like a family Quran night once a week, once in a fortnight. So what does that do? The child, anything that you do as a family is a great memory for the child's brain. So the child is like watching you, your partner, and all the children coming together, sitting and reciting, maybe again just 10-15 minutes, but those 10-15 minutes are making a huge impact on your child's brain. They are making precious memories. And anything that you teach with good memories, with good experiences, they are going to get registered in your child's brain. So when you associate Quran to something so much fun and like so much like a family time, it is going to make a it is going to get registered, and it is going to become something that is very close to their heart. So do it as a family Quran night or something. So that is number one, like doing it as a family. Number two will be rewarding the effort. Now most of the times, when we talk about rewarding our children, we think like, okay, you have memorized one surah, I'll give you a reward for it. That's good, but what is even better, according to me, is rewarding the effort. So instead of rewarding my child when he memorizes a surah, what I like to do is randomly one day, like uh, decide to reward my child, get him a gift for just how much effort he's putting in every day to sit and revise with me or read with me. Even not memorizing, maybe your child is not memorizing, but just reading every day. You need to reward your child for that. That will just reinforce that habit. That will just motivate your child to do it more. So reward the effort. They just reward them for reading it daily with you. Even those 10 minutes that you're reading, maybe they are sitting with you, maybe they are like patiently listening to you and not disturbing you. Reward them for that. They are going to just it's just going to reinforce that behavior in them. So reward the effort. Don't always focus on the results. Like I said, this whole webinar was not meant for especially like for Hifdh. It is just to build that Quran culture, that our bond with the Quran as a family. So yeah, so reward the effort. Reward, it may be a small gift, maybe an experience, maybe take them out for like some play area or somewhere that they would enjoy, and tell them that this is just because you read Quran daily with me. You sit and listen to me daily whilst I read Quran. So just let them know that this is a reward that they are getting. Something that they are enjoying is a reward that they are getting for the effort they put in to learn the book of Allah. So yeah, that would be number 2. And then number 3 would be utilize the pockets of time during the day. This is very important because again, like our days are so jam packed with so many things to do that oftentimes Quran might just miss out. So what we need to do is during these days just utilize those pockets of time. We have a lot we if we expect our children to sit down and listen or read the Quran, most of the days it's not going to happen, especially with young kids. So we need to utilize that pockets of time during the day. Maybe you're just cooking and your children are playing. You can do revision with them, like I said, how do you read the Quran? Like maybe you say one ayah, let your child say another ayah, next ayah, just alternate. Or maybe just start the ayah, let your child complete it. You can do this. You don't have to sit, like especially with young children, 2 years, 3 years, you don't expect them to sit and read. It's not going to happen. You do it whilst they are playing, or whilst you're cooking and they are playing. You can just do it at that time. You don't have to allocate specific time. What you allocate specific time for your Quran reading, that is a routine, that is your habit. You can expect to sit down and read Quran daily, but you can't expect the same from our little children. They are just 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. We can't expect this from them. So what you can expect, maybe after the age of 3 they will sit down, but not before the age of 3. So you really utilize those pockets of time during the day. Maybe whilst going to the park, that 10-minute walk, you can do some Quran revision during that time, because they don't need a Quran to sit and revise the Quran, yeah, because they are solely relying on auditory input. So yeah, or when you're cooking and they're playing, just revise the Quran at that time. Use those pockets of time for their Quran revision. And then don't make Quran a chore or a punishment, or or punish them for not revising, or punish them for not reading, or not memorizing it correctly. So don't make it a chore. The ultimate aim, more than like making them hafiz, I believe, is to develop and nurture this love for the Quran in their hearts. That is our aim. That is our ultimate aim. So how do we do this? We don't make it a chore. We don't we keep those Quran sessions very short and sweet, maybe just 10 minutes or just 5 minutes, how much ever your child is able to focus. Don't drag it like till they are tired and they are not enjoying it. We don't want that. Keep it very short so that our children are like, they just sit, they focus, and they run off to play. Or even when they are playing, just don't make it too long, to like bore them, or so so that they get tired or anything. Just make it short and sweet. So these will be a few points on how we create this Quran culture in the household. And then, like I said, this will be my last point. So nurturing Iman before the Quran. So this is a hadith in Ibn Majah where Jundub bin Abdullah has said that we were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we were youth who had grown strong. So we learned Iman before Quran. Then we learned the Quran, and it helped us and it increased us in Iman. So this is very important. Like I think even as a community, I think we focus a lot on the etiquettes and even the Quran memorization and everything. But something that is a sunnah of the Prophet is to teach Iman before the Quran. So how do we nurture this Iman in our children? To the first pillar of Iman is Tawheed, nurturing Tawheed in the hearts of our children. Then all the pillars of Iman, we need to nurture them before the Quran, because otherwise it's meaningless. Like children won't even understand. So this is like the sunnah, like teach the nurture Iman before the Quran. So obviously, like I said, Quran starts right from the beginning, it's just memorization. But after the age of 2, like you can start introducing the concepts of Tawheed. I start with the concepts of Tawheed first. So like who is your Rabb, and who created you, and why did he create you, and all of this. So so I start with Tawheed, I think, which is the first pillar of Iman as well. So so you start with that alongside Quran learning journey. But like I said, this is primary. This is first, like to nurture that Iman in our children. Also, like although I have been teaching and introducing my child to concepts of Tawheed, I also felt like, having a guideline, like because Tawheed is such a vast concept, and like, there are so many aspects of Tawheed Rububiyyah and Uluhiyyah, and Tawheed Asmaul Sifat. So there are many aspects of Tawheed that I think sometimes might get missed out when we don't like have a guideline, or a comprehensive outline to follow. So like I have recently also put out I've recently also put out like a book, a workbook, which is especially for very young children from 2 to 5 years of age, with because children learn best through stories and through hands-on activities. So I made this workbook with it's packed with many stories and hands-on activities, and it has focused on all these 3 aspects of Tawheed Rububiyyah, Uluhiyyah, and Tawheed Asmaul Sifa. So that there is a workbook like for all children of ages 2 to 5, and it has been like in no problem, Saliha, no problem. So it has been it is in my Etsy store, My Little Leaders. So you can go and check that out as well if you feel like you need a like I'll just type it out for you. So if you feel like you need a like what do you say, a guideline, like to teach your children as well, so maybe you can have a look at that. So yeah, so like I said, I start with Tawheed first because that's the first pillar of Islam, Iman, sorry. So yeah, so this will be the final discussion, like to nurture work on the Iman in the hearts of our children even before the Quran. So yeah, that will bring us to the end of our discussion. If
Mabruk on completing the training. I hope you're walking away with new takeaways and insights and action points to get started with your child's Hifdh journey. If you are keen to dive deeper into this topic and learn how you can not just start your child's Quran journey, rather nurture their Iman, teach them about Tawheed, and give them rock solid foundation in Deen, through a connection based and playful approach, then I have linked my mini course Madrasa at Home in the video description. Go ahead, click the link and check out the details, inshallah. For more such action-packed videos on Islamic Tarbiyah, homeschooling, and of course self-improvement for us Muslim mothers, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, and I'll see you again in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.